Welcome back. Here is our next case study number 11 from CA Final Paper 3 ICA booklet on MCQs and case-based scenarios. Okay, let's go through the case study. ABC Limited is in the business of trading garments. Within a span of 5 years since its incorporation, the company has gained good market reputation. Last year, in its Kochi warehouse, the inventory was less than 1% of the total inventory value. So, the auditor, instead of witnessing or performing the physical count of inventory, relied upon the management's inventory confirmation, and management in turn relied upon the warehouse keeper's stock register without verifying the actual count. The same year, there was some difference between the store register and the books of accounts closing balance. The management considered it to be an immaterial amount and wrote it off through miscellaneous profit and loss account. In the current year, while performing analytical procedure, the auditor saw a significant reduction in sales through Kochi warehouse, whereas there was a spike in freight charges to Kochi. Through further examination, the auditor noticed that there was increase in the number of shipments to Kochi and increase in number of invoice cancellation instances and sale return instances from the customers of GST unregistered category. However, this year the inventory lying at Kochi is 4.5% as per the books. The auditor inquired on the periodicity of physical verification and sales process through Kochi warehouse. The management gave the following response to the auditor. First one was, the physical verification takes place every 6 months and because of the low operations in past years, the warehouse keeper himself takes care of invoicing and dispatching the goods. So he is having control over all the things. The third one is, monthly invoice details along with the monthly stock register is sent to the head office. Fourth one was, further, this year too, there is a substantial difference among inventory as per books, inventory as per stock register, and inventory as per physical verification in descending order. The auditor decided to visit the Kochi warehouse and conduct the root cause analysis and get the correct closing value of the inventory. After the visit, the auditor concluded that the warehouse keeper was issuing the stocks with invoices. However, on the sale return, the credit note was issued to various customers and the entry was made in the stock register of goods received on sale return. But physically, the goods were never returned. The auditor also doubts that same instance might have happened last year as well, because of which there was a difference between physical stock and the books. On this information, the management has asked the auditor that why this was not brought into notice last year and whether the audit not conducted properly then. Further, a consultant was appointed by the management for the review of internal controls with regard to verification of inventory and suggest recommendations. So, after going through this case study, what we understood is, since in the last year the auditor observed that the inventory level of Kochi is very less. The question itself says that it is 1%, right? See here in the initial initial paragraph, it is said that the inventory level was less than 1% of total inventory value, because of which the auditor has said we will be relying on management confirmation. So it is like an audit risk, okay, because the particular level of inventory is not satisfying the materiality level, the auditor has ignored it. It means there is an inherent audit risk involved in this concept. Let's go through the questions which were given to us. The first question, based on the above facts, answer the following. Question number 11.1. In view of the above case scenario, which according to you is the correct statement? Option A says only errors can be expected to be identified during the audit. Is that so? No, we also analyze whether statutory compliances are being there or not, whether internal controls exist properly and they are working effectively or not. So it is not only the errors that can be expected. So the statement is wrong. Option B says only the statutory compliance can be expected out of the statutory audit. Is that so? No. We have already discussed that internal audit, internal controls, statutory compliances, other compliance with other laws, all these things will be identified. Sometimes even frauds will also uh, come frauds will also come out of the statutory audit, right? So option B is also wrong. Option C says the auditor contends that last year the inventory levels in Kochi was not in the sampling materiality level and therefore the issue was not identified. This is a part of audit risk. Yes, this is what we have understood previously. Therefore option C is the correct option. It is a part of inherent. Is that so? No, because auditor is not an investigator over there. Okay, option D is also wrong. We'll go to the next question. Question number 11.2. Which components of the audit risk are represented in the aforesaid scenario? Which type of audit risk that, I mean, audit risks that are represented? One is control risk because one person is taking control of all the things, and the second one is the detection risk because we failed to detect the risk that is involved, right? Option B says control risk and detection risk. Control risk is due to inappropriate design and ineffective implementation of internal controls, and audit detection risk due to possibility of auditor not identifying risk of material misstatement. Why this detection risk came into picture? Because it is a part of inherent audit risk that is involved. Okay, this you can also take this question as a continuation to the first question, right? I think other options need not to be discussed, but still, option A says inherent risk and control risk. Inherent risk is due to the nature of business operations, and control risk is due to the inappropriate design and ineffective implementation of internal control. No, just because of nature of business and operations, you cannot say that it is an inherent risk. It is a duty of the auditor to identify the nature and the compliances of operations of the business. Okay, option C says fraud risk due to the nature, size and operations and high likelihood of fraud due to its significance. No. Option D says risk of error because there was an error in presentation of financial statements last year. No, there is no error. There is a misstatement. Misstatement which was taken because it's a part of inherent audit risk. Okay. Compromised as the root cause here. It is like segregation of duty because the warehouse keeper himself, he is invoicing, he is taking return of goods, he is maintaining registers, he is taking stock valuation, all these things. So there is no proper segregation of duty. Option C is the correct option, right? I'm not discussing other points because they are all implied. While going through the question itself, we understood that there is no proper segregation of duty. Okay. Question number 11.4. To ensure that such instances are not taking place in other warehouses as well, the management wants to get an audit done. Which of the following audits is correct in the above case? See, before even going through the options, I want you to identify one thing. See, in the last paragraph, it is been said, further, a consultant was appointed by the management for the overview of internal controls. So, it is an internal audit. Okay. Here, management wants to identify the internal control things. Mostly, internal controls will be dealt during the internal audit. So, internal auditor is responsible for all those things. So, we'll straight away say that it is an internal audit as there is a lapse in internal control system, and such lapses in internal control systems can also be identified. Hope you are clear with this. This is a straightforward question. We can even answer this from the case study given. Okay. The next question, 11.5. Which segregation of duties aspect seems to have been compromised here? Which concept, which type of segregation we want? First thing is we need execution of the invoices, and the second one is custody of the inventories, and the third thing is maintaining stock. Hope you are clear with this. With this, we have completed our next case study number 11. I had a question regarding, say, question number 2.5. Let me just quickly go through that. There is a doubt regarding this question. Yes, here is our second case study. In this case study, it has been said that this particular company, PQR Limited, see in this paragraph, also the company has borrowed a sum of 10 crores equally from two public sector banks and two non-banking financial companies. It had also repaid few deposits amounting to 75 lakhs to the deposit holders through electronic mode. So in the question it is clearly given that the company has taken 10 crore loan from equally from two public sector banks and two non-banking financial institutions. That means you can say that 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. Okay. 4 banks, 2 public sector, 2 non-bank, 2 NBFCs. Each bank is taking 2.5 crores. Okay. And it has also repaid any loan from a bank will usually give through banking channels only. There is no scope of getting a loan from bank through cash. Okay. So here the question relating to 269 SS reporting under tax audit doesn't arise, because what 269 SS says is, let's go through the 269 SS also. See, 269 SS describes the mode of taking or accepting certain loans and deposits. As per this section, no person shall take or accept from any other person any loan or deposit otherwise than by an account payee check or account payee bank draft. Okay, which is more than 20,000 or more. So I have highlighted that main point. Okay, so it is saying if you are taking in a cash mode, that is any other mode other than banking channels. Okay, therefore when we come back to the question, it has been said that the company has taken loan from two public sector banks and two NBFCs, and it has also, it is through banking channels only, and also the company has repaid deposits through electronic mode only. It means again it is coming to the banking channel only. Therefore there is no question of 269 SS coming into picture. Hope you are clear with this point. Now we'll go through the question number 2.5. It has been asked why 1 and 3 are not correct. In 2.5, the question is asking, among the below transactions which were undertaken by PQR Limited, which needs to be reported by the auditor under fiscal loss? So under tax audit report, which need to be reported? Receiving otherwise than through electronic mode or banking channels. So 269 SS option 1 and 3 doesn't come into picture. Therefore option 1 and 4 is the correct 2 and 4 is the correct answer. Option B is the right option for this question. Hope I have I have cleared your doubt. If you are not happy with this solution, please go through 269 SS again and then read the question. Okay, that's all for today. We have completed 11 case studies till now. We'll be uploading others also as soon as possible. If you find these videos helpful, please do like, share and subscribe, and share with your friends and help them to revise as quickly as possible. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for watching.